One of my favorite people on the planet. That's the way we welcome him on the
Sorry.
Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line. Do you think these Dr. Pepper contestants should be forced to throw overhand, Desmond? What do you think?
I think that's a good argument. I think that's a good point. I believe that, yeah, you should have to. I mean, because that's the whole point of throwing a football, right? I mean, you don't chest pass a football. You throw a football. I mean, so yeah, it's a good. I haven't really heard people debate that, but yeah, I'm on board with that.
Wait a minute, Favre never chest passed you the ball, never once. That never happened.
I tell you what, but these quarterbacks now they have like this jet motion that goes in front of them and they snap the ball. Yeah. They just pretty much tap the ball.
That is a chest pass, right? Right. Yeah. It's just that they're not throwing it into a can that's 10 yards in front of them.
The timing of it has to be perfect too.
See? Now, Chris, that's why Desmond's next level right there. How are you, Des? How you doing?
Man, listen, bruh. I mean, listen, if I was doing any better, you had to put me in a straitjacket, bro. It's just like that, you know. You can't hide it. You can't hide it.
Right. I mean, I know what it feels like for me being a longtime fan and observer. What about a guy like you who has won a Heisman Trophy for this school and has won big games for this school and is sitting on the set of one of the most watched college football shows in the history of such things over the last few years? What is this like for you to see this?
You know what
Michigan,
it is for me, Rich, to be completely honest with you, is just I'm happy for the coaches, the coaching staff, and the players, you know, because they've been through so much. And I was talking to I was at a game and talking to one really popular music exec named Steve Stout. And Steve Stout said, yeah, well, you know, you guys are ready to get rid of Harbaugh. I said, well, you know, Steve, the thing is, like, those of us who actually know what's happening, we never really felt like that. I said, it's just like you know, you've had all sorts of musical artists, right? I said, but you know that there are artists that has great potential, but then there are people out there in the media who are sitting out there and they're carving up this artist. But you as an exec, you know what's happening behind the scenes, why this artist just might not be reaching his potential just yet, but you don't give up on the artist. I said, so when I put it in a language like that, then he understands exactly what I mean about that's the noise outside. But people who were inside understand what was really happening wasn't really as quick to give up on Coach Harbaugh. And so I'm happy that the decision makers didn't pull the trigger, because we see decision makers all over college football pulling the trigger haphazardly on some of these head coaches. But they didn't pull the trigger. They stuck with them. They made some adjustments. They made some changes. And now a team that wasn't even picked to finish in the top 3, I think they were picked to finish 4th in their own division, is picked as the number 2 team in the nation. Now, who saw that coming?
I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So so the point is, I'm just so happy for the decision makers, for Coach Harbaugh, and for those kids who've been dealing with so much for so many years to be where they are, because they kept fighting the good fight and they stayed on course, and it has paid big dividends for them so far, and it's going to pay even bigger dividends for them down the road.
And then how about the blossoming of one of your teammates' kids into a Heisman Trophy candidate, which I think Aiden should be. What is that like to watch a kid of a teammate do what he's doing for the school, Des? That's insane.
Again, you know, you're so happy for the kid, Rich, because don't forget, now, this is a kid who last season was going to be, I think, projected to be a first-round draft pick, and then he, you know, broke his ankle. And then, you know, he's crying, and people are like, well, should he come back? Should he just, you know, rehab and go to the NFL? And this kid made a commitment, you know, to himself, to his teammates, to his coaches, to come back. You know why he wanted to come back? He wanted to come back to finish the job, to win a Big Ten championship with his team. And he came back and did it. Not only that, now he's like a top 5 pick, and he's, you know, and hopefully I'll see him in New York on Saturday. So, I mean, it's just a sweet story, and got a lot of credit. And Chris is his dad, who I played with, and man, what is just a wonderful man he is, and his wife, and what they've done raising Aiden. So just kudos to them as a family.
I'll be honest, I can't believe this is happening. You know,
Yeah,
I
bro.
always hoped.
Yeah, man.
It's Des. You know, I had you on when the show was first beginning 7 years ago. I had you on. I had Steve Hutchinson, no relation, and I had Woodson on. And I'm like, we got to get Harbaugh. We got to get him. And I remember I looked at Harbaugh when he was on the sideline of the Ravens years ago when he was either at Stanford or he just was going to Stanford. And he was running off the field on a Saturday night because the college football season was over, and he was wearing a Ravens gear. He was on the sideline of I think it was the night that the Ravens closed down Old Texas Stadium. And he runs past the set, and I'm like, you got to come home, man. And he smiled at me and nodded at me and ran into the tunnel because this was what I was envisioning. I didn't think it would take 7 years, to be honest, but I can't believe it's happening. Des, I cannot believe it is happening, and it is the greatest thing. I said it's the greatest fall I've ever had, and I know you're professional, and you know I can be somewhat here because my job is to actually talk from the heart, my gut from the show. The fact that they beat Ohio State and deny Notre Dame a seat at the table. I'm not done yet. And tell Michigan State, you know, with their big win, and it was a tremendous win for them. Tell Michigan State, hey, that was a peach of a win. Enjoy the Peach Bowl. And that was just all it was. All it was is just one of those character building moments on our journey to maybe the greatest season in the history of Michigan football. It's the greatest thing. This is the greatest fall I've ever had. My kids were not born in the fall. I wasn't married in the fall. This is literally the greatest fall I've ever had. This is amazing.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, no, it's amazing, and it's incredible to watch this journey unfold the way it has. And like you said, you know, he was the one that everyone wanted, and things didn't shape out the way we anticipated, and people started to make all these jokes about Michigan and Harbaugh, and people coming down so hard on him. And like I said, it would have been easy to just fire him. You know, if he was any other school, like, you know, if this happened down in Columbus, he'd have been gone years ago because, you know, it's just a different breed down there. And other places too, but they stayed the course. They made some changes. They understood what was happening behind the scenes, and look at them today. So kudos to them.
ESPN's Desmond Howard, College GameDay's Desmond Howard here on the Rich Eisen Show. Did the committee get it right, 1 through 4, seating him the way that they did? They get it right?
It's hard to say. I mean, my when they asked me, my top 4, Michigan was number 1, Alabama was 2, Georgia was 3, and since he was 4, that was my own personal feelings towards the order. But you know, they put Bama up there. You know, it's hard to knock that one. Bama and Michigan were, you know, to me, flip a coin. It was you had a strong argument for either because you got to give Bama credit for doing what they did. I mean, not only did they beat the number 1 team in the country. I mean, don't forget Georgia's like wire to wire regular season, like the best team in the country, the best defense in the country, and for them to go and carve that defense up the way that they did was incredible. I mean, it was like the Michigan-Ohio State game. You left that game with a clear understanding of which team was the better team. There was no doubt in your mind who was the better team. When you left the SEC championship game, there was no doubt in your mind that Alabama was the better team. It wasn't like, man, you know, they kind of got lucky, and, man, if they played again, you know, it was like, you know, they had a bad call. No. Alabama was the better team. So with them knocking off number 1, you know, they had a hell of an argument. So that's why they got the nod. Okay,
and so what do you think? I had Lincoln Riley on earlier in the show, Desmond, and I asked him about this signing period, this December 15th signing period, and if that should be moved because, you know, we're seeing all of these schools. Oregon just lost their coach. Oklahoma lost their coach. Obviously, Notre Dame lost its coach. And these coaches, you know, do not look very good. I mean, the look is so bad for them to leave right when they're leaving. And then kids are decommitting and then recommitting, like that kid who did exactly that to recommit to Lincoln Riley here at USC. Why is the signing period when it is? And do you think it should be moved? What do you think of that?
Now, that is, I don't pay that much attention to high school recruiting, and I don't know why they moved this. I mean, I'm just keeping it honest. I have no idea why they moved the signing period. I would be curious to see what Lincoln Riley would say about it, because that affects their lives tremendously.
He said he'd be in favor of moving it. That's what he said. He'd be in favor of moving it because it's just.
Those are the guys to really answer that question. Those head coaches, because it affects their lives and it affects the lives of these kids. So, but I have no idea why they moved the signing period. I just always find it kind of interesting that people want to look at when to hire a coach or when not to hire a coach based on the signing period. Because my thing is, that's just one signing period. You're hiring this coach for some sort of longevity, not just for this signing class. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I just don't get trying to maneuver the hiring of a coach around one signing class. I'm all about the long game. Okay, if we lose if this is my guy, this is my guy. So if he doesn't get this recruiting period, this class, and everybody he wants in this class, so be it. At some point, you got to coach people up too, and you got the transfer portal. There are just other things involved where I couldn't make that the most important criteria in trying to figure out if I'm going to hire this coach now or not. Does that make sense, Rich?
Yeah, it totally makes sense, Desmond. Okay. And I think it just puts everyone in a very difficult position. And I don't understand why school presidents are cool with it, or why athletic department administrators are cool with it. Like, they're cool with it. Like, this would never happen in the NFL, where somebody goes to another NFL team's coach whenever they go to him, October, September, November, December, saying, "Hey, you want to bail when the season's over, and you got to do it right away before there's a playoff game." It's insane. The whole thing's insane, and I don't know why everyone's cool with that. Like, they don't want to.
That's the problem, Rich. See, the NFL has structure. NFL, they got a union. Like, they have a governing body. The college football does not have a governing body. I mean, that was exposed when COVID hit, when the pandemic hit. We thought the NCAA was the governing body. Like, no, you conferences, y'all on your own. Do what you want to do. So we don't have a governing body. We don't have a union. We don't have structure. So that's why it's like the wild, wild west right now. And so I can go on and on about that. But that's the foundation of what's the biggest problem right now in college football. And then these coaches' salaries, these contracts that they're signing. Oh, Rich, this is about to start to get really crazy out there. They're signing contracts that are worth more than NFL coaches. So you want everything that the NFL has, except you don't want the same structure. You don't want to give these student athletes, because they're quote unquote amateurs, the same rights or the same type of even you don't even give them a union. Because if you give them a union, then you would have the issues that are plaguing college football. You will have someone to address these issues now as a group, which they do not want.
Last two for you. You want to say who you think should be a Heisman Trophy winner? Who would you vote for? Who do you think?
Oh, no, I never say that before the award comes out. I'll say, like, who the finalists should be.
For it.
I would never say.
So who should the finalists be? Who should the finalists be?
Who the guy will win it? Well, Aiden Hutchinson, I think, should be a finalist. I think that Bryce Young. I mean, listen, I'm a guy who is not just what you do, because I know these guys, they can pad numbers and pad stats against weaker opponents, which they do all the time. But it's also, more importantly to me, who you do it against. So it's not just what you do, but who you do it against. And for him to have the game he had against Georgia at the championship game is good. Just like Aiden Hutchinson, 3 sacks against Ohio State, the biggest game in the regular season. Boom. And third guy, I'm not sure. You could maybe throw in Hassan Haskins, Kenny Pickett.
Well, if it's Pickett, can they redo the trophy instead of it being a stiff arm? It's a fake slide. Can they do that? Can they immediately get that trophy made? Nice. What do you think?
How gangster was that move? I mean, it's just, and it's taking advantage. To be honest with you, it's taking advantage of the climate in college football right now, which is don't hit the quarterback. So if a guy looks like he's about to go down, guys pull up automatically because they don't want to get a targeting foul or a personal foul or nothing like that. So they're gonna pull up. And then he does that. He takes advantage of the rule and runs for an actual touchdown doing it too. I said, hot damn, look at this here. Whoa, boy.
That's what I thought. I said he just wrote a check that if I'm Mel Tucker and I'm telling the Spartans, like, don't target, but go for it, and I'll deal with the refs afterwards. That's
exactly.
For the Peach Bowl.
Exactly.
That's what I will say. That's what I'm saying. That's what I tell my defensive staff, and that's what I tell the players. Go for it. Don't use your helmet, but go for it, and then I'll deal with it. Last one for you. Do you think we got a shot? What do you think? The whole thing, the whole enchilada. What do you think for Michigan?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not just saying this as, because I went to school, but I know that. As an analyst.
Yes, please. That's what I do. That's what I want. That's the analyst. What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah. Now, do I got time to go into it, or you just want to
go for it. No, yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. So Georgia, Georgia's number one defense in the country all year long. I did a tape on Saturday. I talked about Alabama's wideouts. I said John Mechie. I said Jamison Williams. They're going to have to be the difference, because all the talk about their defense was the front seven. We never really talked about their secondary and their back end. And so what Bill O'Brien did, the offensive coordinator at Alabama did, which was brilliant, he found a way to neutralize that front seven. So once you neutralize the front seven, now you put the pressure on the back end, on the secondary. And they carved them up, bro. Man, I mean, they just ate them alive. And Jamison Williams had a hell of a day. So anyway, with that being said, I believe that Josh Gaddis, the offensive coordinator at Michigan, if you've really paid attention, he's in a hell of a rhythm right now calling games.
He sure is.
He's in a hell of a rhythm. And I also think that Michigan's defense is – people are going to say, Michigan want to line up and punch you in the mouth. That's what they want to do. That's not what we want to do, but that's what they want to do. But it's what they can do, and if you allow them to do it, they're going to do it. But they're multiple. Michigan's offense is very, very multiple. Most coordinators will tell you, if you got to prepare for two quarterbacks, that's a headache. Well, you got to prepare for Cade McNamara, and you also got to prepare for this freshman, J.J. McCarthy. You got to prepare for three running backs. You got Blake Corum, who's lightning. You got Hassan Haskins, who's thunder. But then you get Donovan Edwards.
How good is that kid?
Come on now, you kidding me?
I know.
They use this kid in the championship game for a double pass.
That's right. And he also grabbed one with one arm, too. I know.
So now you got three running backs. You got two legitimate tight ends, both of them in the championship game making one-handed grabs, both tight ends. And then you got wideouts. It's like you got three or four wideouts. All of them can make plays. And they use multiple personnel groupings, multiple sets, and then they'll slow it down for you. They'll get in the formation. Okay, to clap his hands, and they'll look to the sideline, and then they'll get the play. So my point is, this is going to be a huge challenge for Georgia's defense, because there's just so much that they can do offensively and so much to defend. And then I'm not sure people were really impressed with Georgia's offense, especially under Stetson Bennett against Alabama. And Michigan has a pretty good defense, too. Mike McDonald, first-year defensive coordinator that came from the Baltimore Ravens, has been doing an outstanding job, to the point where he actually out-coached Ryan Day. And people aren't giving Jim Harbaugh and McDonald and that staff enough credit for how they out-coached Ohio State a couple of weeks ago in that game.
Des, I love you. Thanks for the time. Let's do it again.
Man, pleasure.
Let's do it again. Right back at you. One of my favorite Go Blue. One of my favorite humans on the planet, Desmond Howard. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.